this is why so many people eat up that bullshit line of argument. Again, and we're being way too gracious by even characterizing it as an argument, because really it's just mindless drivel. It means nothing. He's just speaking in platitudes that sound good and make him sound like he's compassionate and he's super enlightened because he doesn't believe in the self-made man myth that he just created 5 seconds ago.
Culture Corner. The self-made man. We've got another habitual line stepper on the podcast. Yeah, because I still don't have my soundboard yet.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna let Sam speak for himself, and this is what did I write down here? This is a
it's important.
I think
People
it's
know
a 50-second. Yes.
Don't.
It's a 50-second clip. It's not a full minute. 50-second clip of Sam Harris. I know, believe me, listeners and viewers, before we ever play a Sam Harris clip, I make sure that I give the shortest duration possible because we only have a finite number of brain cells and we can't all burn them collectively at the same time.
We don't want to give him this kind of like publicity.
Yes.
You know?
Here's what Sam has to say about what he calls the myth of the self-made man.
The myth of the self-made man is such colossal bullshit, and it does so much work. It does so much pseudo-ethical work for people right of center. It's a total fiction. No one made themselves. No one picked their parents. No one can account for how they were lucky enough to be born where they were and who they were so that they succeeded, right? And whatever story they have about being self-made, they're not responsible for their intelligence. The fact that you weren't born with brain damage is pure luck. And somebody is being born with brain damage right now in a hospital near you. So what do we do for that person, right? So it's a total failure, not of just compassion, of just, basic awareness of terrestrial facts to feel that something important is anchored to this myth of the self-made person.
David, I'm going to let you start here. I got to gather my thoughts. Okay.
I mean, I get it. I get what he's trying to do here. My boy, even though he's slipped up in the past a couple of times, Arnie Schwarzenegger, he had a commencement speech, and he said he doesn't believe in the self-made man. And to his credit, he thought it out a little bit more than Sammy Harris over here did. He was saying that he didn't make himself, that everything that he is today is because of the people that helped him along the way. And he gave credit to everybody from the bodybuilders that gave him, pointers, to the people when he moved to California, the other bodybuilders that let him stay at their house and helped him along the way, and yada, 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 which is good. He was paying credit to all the people that helped him get to where he was. So he didn't say that he was a self-made man. How fucking ever. What Sam Harris is saying is that you're there where you're standing on complete luck. He's saying that none of the work he's saying that LeBron James would have been LeBron James if he stayed at home and scratched his nuts and didn't ever pick up a basketball. And then one day just went, I'm going to enroll in the NBA draft. And then all of a sudden he's the best player ever. That's kind of the corollary that he's making. He's saying that you are zero of your effort responsible for where you're at right now. It's everyone else that did everything for you. So we need to have compassion. So it completely demeans anything working hard. It totally cuts down sacrifice. It totally cuts down all the hours that you could have been doing something else, but you chose to be disciplined, and now you are where you're at. And it's indicative of the time, because we have a lot of lack of discipline nowadays. We have a lot of lack of accountability for ourselves nowadays, and
it's because of bullshit like this.
Exactly. This is myth.
This line of argument.
This is the hegemony that's driving us down this path of fucking extinction. Really, what it is. If you aren't going to try to survive, then you never will. Dane, I ball it over to you.
I find it hilarious that within the first 10 seconds of his statement that he says that it's pseudo-ethical. Well, I find your line of argument to be pseudo-intellectual, Sam, because
I find you to be a pseudo individual.
Because let me welcome you to not a new segment, but a segment in this particular episode of how to spot bullshit logic with your friends at the WMD podcast. We've said the term straw manning on this podcast a lot. And so for those of you who still aren't clear on what that is, watch that clip again. That is classic textbook straw manning. And the reason why it's straw manning is because Sam is not even trying to address the actual argument behind somebody who's saying, I'm a self-made man. He's just putting up the straw man saying, oh, well, then that means you claim you picked your parents and you picked your IQ and you picked all your environmental factors that made you successful. And you picked, that's not what nobody who says that there's so, again, maybe there's exceptions that prove the rule, but virtually nobody who says I'm a self-made man is saying any of that. Almost every successful person I've ever seen always says, I think my parents, I think this,
God,
I think my
God.
second grade English teacher who taught me how to, write creatively. And that's how I became a great novelist. Like everybody has somebody or a group of people that they always say like, hey, this person set me on the path, or this person lit my fire, or this, like people say that all the time. But really what his whole line of bullshit by saying like, oh, well, it's a myth. Yeah, it is a myth. The version that you have created to straw man up so you could easily knock down and pretend like you're a bright, intelligent, compassionate guy for knocking it down, Sam, is because you cannot, respond to the actual argument that David just made, is that incentives matter, as we talk about on this podcast all the time. And even more importantly than that, when we're talking about the individual human, consequences for your actions, both good and bad, is fundamental to living the human experience. Because if Sam were truly correct and that everything is just blind luck, well then by the same token that we couldn't say that an Elon Musk isn't deserving of his money because he's not a self-made man, then that means that the guy who chose for 50 years to dedicate his entire existence to going and get heroin needles to shoot up every night, and therefore he lives under a bridge in absolute poverty, that was just blind luck. None of his life's decisions led him to that point in time. And that's just not true. Everybody knows that that's not true. Yes, that poor person could have faced things, hardships in his life that other people didn't, that made him make those decisions to begin with. But when you engage in a line of behavior, both good in terms of being successful and bad in terms of negatively affecting your life outcomes for decades at a time, at some point, the objective observer looks at your life and says, you're an adult, you're capable of making your own decision. Whatever comes out of those decisions are on you. At some point, we are not just like a random biological soup of chaos and luck. That's not how life it works, especially amongst sentient beings like human beings who have the capability of rational thought. You wouldn't think so by watching Sam, critical thinking and stuff like that. That's not how life works, Sam.
Well, there used to be, I don't know if he's a Greek philosopher or something like that, but there's an old phrase that said, a man is a summation of his decisions. You are the choices that you make. It's literally cause and effect in your life. But Sam doesn't, to harken back to what I was going to say to you and caveat on to your point, is that Sam, in his infinite wisdom, just cut himself off at the knees with his argument. So if he truly believed in what the bullshit he was regurgitating onto that video, then why the fuck should we listen to Sam? Because he didn't make those, he's just there by luck. He's there by chance. He's not smart. He got lucky. Why would I listen to somebody that got there by luck? Because I'm not going to have the same path that Sam had, so I might as well give up. Why would I even try by his logic? Because I'm just going to be me no matter what the fuck happens or what I do. What are you talking about?
And for that takeaway that David just highlighted, that's what some people will genuinely take away from what Sam had to say.
You didn't incentivize people, you decentivize people.
And this is why so many people eat up that bullshit line of argument. Again, and we're being way too gracious by even characterizing it as an argument, because really it's just mindless drivel. It means nothing. He's just speaking in platitudes that sound good and make him sound like he's compassionate and he's super enlightened because he doesn't believe in the self-made man myth that he just created 5 seconds ago. But the reason why people eat that shit up is because it is fuel for the cult of envy. And that's what all of these totalitarian ideologies...
What's envy again, Dane?
Being spiteful.
No, not the
hateful.
definition.
What?
It's one of the cardinal sins, right?
Oh, of course, yes.
It's one of the 7 deadlies.
Yeah, but the mentality of the cult of envy is what underlies all of history's totalitarian regimes. And specifically, I'm talking more late 19th, early 20th century up to today, socialism, communism, all that kind of stuff, right? It's fundamentally premised on this idea that inequality is not fair. It's not just a natural occurrence of nature. And the only reason why somebody has more than me has nothing to do with them making different decisions than me. Like, yes, somebody can be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They can have a family that has all the connections in the world. Just look at every fucking politician that's dictating your life to you. Those are, silver spoon in their mouth connected people, the vast majority of them. That's not to say that doesn't exist. Of course it exists. But that doesn't mean that it's a black and white binary scenario, then that everybody else who worked hard, as in the immortal words of Rick Ross talking about Kobe, bitch, you wasn't with me when I was shooting in the gym. Yeah, hard work and effort pays off. And if you ascribe to the cult of envy, you get this idea that nobody who has anything more than you deserved it. They either stole it, or they got there by chance or luck or whatever. And so the fact that I'm not where I want to be, or I'm not them, is unfair, and they're terrible, and they probably believe in the myth of the self-made man, and we should probably have the government steal more of their money, right? That is the ideology that underlies all of this. And Sam is just feeding into it, and Sam's too stupid to become a tyrant, but if he were savvy enough to actually become it, that's exactly what they argue. No tyrant ever says, I'm going to oppress you because I'm an evil son of a bitch. They always do it saying, I'm going to oppress you. It'd be really helpful
if they did.
It'd be a lot easier to spot.
I got you son of a bitch.
What they always say is, I'm doing this because it's in your best interest. There's all these guys out here with a bunch of money. They're not self-made men. They got there by luck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to oppress all of you equally, make you all more poor, but at least he'll be closer in poverty to you. I'm rich, but that's good because, I'm a benevolent dictator, right? That is what's underlying all of this. And if you pick apart an argument like that from Sam for 5 seconds, you see how pathetically paper thin it is and how transparent he is. It's not anything intellectual that you should, be like, oh yeah, he really said something profound and wise, and he's a compassionate guy. Like he's exactly the opposite. He is a high priest of the cult of envy.
I'm going to do what Jesus Christ said. I'm going to pity him. I'm going to hope that Sam finds the help that he is truly looking for with all the vast resources that he luckily has that he didn't acquire himself, that was just given to him by fate. I hope he finds what he's looking for, that he can actually come back to Earth and start viewing things the way that he did that made him successful in the first place, and not just espousing rhetoric against Trump, number one, and then because he's, what do you call that? Trump derangement syndrome?
Yeah.
Because he's been affected by that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's affected his cognition. So, Sam, I hope you get the help that you need. I hope you come back to reality because we need you.